I think it's important for us to have conversations about, open conversations about mental health, especially with me being Black, because we never had therapists in the Black community. We never approached like taking medication. And I think it's good that when I had my first complete blackout at age 5, my mom didn't fully medicate me because I might have never been Ye. And there's times where at least I'm happy that I know, like even like for this interview, I knew I wanted to stay in a calm state because by the time I got to TMZ, I was ramped up. So what was awesome is that the world got to really experience someone in a ramped up state. And that's when you get these comments that just shoot out, like almost like Tourette's.
Because you have highs and lows. And when you have a high, you're on a roll. And when you have a low, you're not.
Well, there's some cases of bipolar where people go low. I'm one that goes high. Like Michelle Obama said.
So you don't have extreme periods of depression?
Oh, no.
No. Oh.
No. Because I just say it. I'll say on real TV, like, I thought about killing myself, and then the thought is gone,
Wow. So all.
Hey guys, welcome back. Another episode. This is Chris.
I'm Angela, and we are the
Spice.
Oh.
Life.
Yes.
Guys, good to be back at another episode.
Yes.
And I know you've been missing us. We got another episode. We'll talk about that, so look out for that. But I'm telling you, there's been some crazy stuff going on. Guys, what's going on with our Mr. West?
I know. There's been a lot going on with Mr. Kanye.
Hope he's okay.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
we'll talk about it. But before we get into that, what you got?
Oh, I'm sorry. I called him Kanye. His legal name is Ye.
Mr. West.
Formerly known as Kanye West. So, Ye. Okay.
Thanks for clearing that up for us, Andy.
Okay. So, guys, make sure that you can follow us on our website, www.spiceolife.com. You can follow our posts there. We post everything there. So follow us on our website. We appreciate it. Also, we have a podcast distribution on Podbean. Our podcast is also showing, or you can listen to it on Apple Podcast, Samsung, Amazon, Google, and Pandora, and all other platforms. You just got to search our name and subscribe and follow us and listen to us, and everything's gonna be under the description there. And if you're listening, we do have if you click the link to where our distribution site is in Podbean, we have our audio and also a link to our video podcast there for you as well. Thank you for listening to us. Our audio, what do you call it? Listeners or followers. So thank you so much. We're on YouTube. Follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitch, Twitter, and TikTok. And also help us get to 1,000. We're almost there to 1,000 followers on TikTok. And our link tree has all the links there. If you want just to go to one-stop shop on Linktree, it's there in the description. So I appreciate it. And back to you, Chris.
Thank you, Angela. And first of all, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. There's no complaints here. I'm doing good. Yes. I'm grateful. I'm grateful today.
And speaking of grateful, you look great.
Thank you. So do you.
Are you full? I don't know. Depends on if you've eaten or not. Don't worry, folks. I'll be here all night. But yeah, no, I was good. I'm doing good as well. So that's good. Hanging in there. But somebody that seemed like they're not doing too good.
Yeah.
Mr. West. Is he okay?
You know what? Kanye is I'm sorry. I said Kanye. Ye is going through
and
a
that
lot.
may happen. Most of y'all call him Kanye. So
Yeah. So he's going
don't
through a
get shocked
lot.
if I say it.
He's going through a lot right now. Having to make some adjustments in his life. Having lost a lot of business partnerships, having lost a lot of friendships, having just a plethora of things come at him because of some choice of words that he decided to use. I'm not going to say them all here because I would say this. Well, I'm going to let you say what you got to say, but
No, go ahead and say.
Basically, you have to respect people. You know, if somebody don't, I mean, even though those words, whatever he used, I'm not going to say on it because it did offend people.
We'll say some statements.
Yeah, some statement that offend people.
And we're not, you guys know.
Even though it don't seem that they were as those statements were serious or were anti-Semitic.
Well, I'll say this.
Semitic statements. It still offended someone. It still offended a whole group of folks. So, but you can't.
Let me just stop you right there.
All right.
And I want you to continue. When you say it wasn't as serious, you're saying to Kanye West's mind.
Yes, in his thinking, or in anybody else's
somebody
thinking.
else or a certain group or culture may say, wait a minute now.
Well,
So anyway, so I get what you're saying. Just so y'all clarify what Angela's trying to say, or this part, and then I want her to continue. She is saying from his brain, she doesn't believe what he was saying was perceived the way it got perceived. Like he was just saying it in a general statement, not knowing or understanding how the level of impact it would cause, because and I think he's going to probably even say things related to how he was saying it. I don't think he was trying to cause that kind of damage or harm. But anyway, go ahead.
Right. So, bottom line, he offended some people. He offended a lot. He did.
Yeah.
A lot of folks that caused all this. And basically, that's what I'm trying to say. I'm not trying to say who's right, who's
We don't
wrong,
wanna get in a back
who
and
is side.
forth.
We ain't no
Yeah.
back and forth. In fact, we're not going to even talk about no religious side of it, and we're not going to talk about the political side of it. We're just going to talk about the entertainment side of things that he was complaining about. And most importantly, the mental health.
Yes, that's what I'm gonna talk.
Yeah, I'm sorry, the mental health. I'm trying to get there, so you gotta work with me, Chris.
Getting juicy.
Mental health.
Oh, okay.
Because it's the thing, the bottom line is that he made statement that he has bipolar disorder, which means that there are certain things with bipolar disorder or symptoms that you have. But also too, he did admit that he has not taken his medication in 2 years. Came from his mouth, out of his mouth, that he has not been taking his medication for 2 years. So, what do you think about that, Chris?
Well, I believe that it's more than the diagnoses that I guess he's been given, or that most people mention. It may be bipolar. That may be one thing, but it's more because I know a lot of people that's bipolar, but they don't get themselves in pickles like that. There's more. I remember I was telling you this earlier. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if there's a diagnosis for this, but he's one, and I've heard it mentioned on the other shows. There are some people that can't think inside their own head. Mm-hmm. They can't think in silence. This is a real thing. That they think, when they're thinking, if you ask them something and they're running it through, it's going to come out. Whereas if you let's say, for instance, Angela asked me, hey, did you cook that last night?
Yeah.
I may say in my head, did I cook that last night? No, I did not cook that last night. Whereas some people have this thing where they say, did you cook that last night? And they would literally be like, let me see, did I cook that? I don't know. Wait a minute, I went through this. They'll go through this whole thing. They can't think in. I have a brother, actually my son, when we are in the movie and he's like telling me something and I tell him something, I may say, hey man, that's great. he can't whisper. He'd be like, "Did you know that?" So he got that thing. Some people got their little things, and I don't know if it's a DNA or I don't know, but so he has that thing. So along with perhaps if he got a diagnosis by a doctor about being bipolar, it may be at a different level. I guess there may be different levels, just like other things like autism and other things, which we'll talk about in the segment. But that's what I believe about that. But that particular, I don't want to go on about other things I want to talk about. But that portion of what you just said, that's my thoughts on that.
Yeah. So, but he's not getting a pass on that.
No, he's not.
There's no pass on that because
they acting like he passed gas.
You crazy.
I'm sorry.
Crazy. But what we want to discuss, guys, is in regards to Kanye, we do know if you have if there's issues, if you are struggling, you need some help. You need to get it. I think that his argument is, and that one thing that he did mention too on the show, I forgot whose show it was on, and this is the time that he was married to Kim. She was in the audience. He said his bipolar caused paranoia, and when you think that people are after you or whatever, he mentioned that. So it's like the medication will help with that, so it's like, and when you forming opinions about things, you got to be careful about people and their struggles and what they're going through, but also in his situation, taking care of what's going on with you. You could easily make things worse than what they are, but in his situation, he's at a certain level. He has so many followers. He got so much influence. There's so many things. He's at a level. He's here. As far as his career is concerned, he was here, and the impact of what he said goes a long way. That's why this is serious. It carries weight.
I agree.
So, and when you have issues, like you have to be concerned. Self-care. You got to be concerned with yourself. You got to make sure, and also what's important too, because he did mention about a doctor, whoever diagnosed him. If you or in his situation, if you don't trust the diagnosis of the doctor or the doctor, find someone you can trust. Find just do it. You gotta do it. You can't. We're not specialists. Like, we're not mental health specialists. We just going by what someone say that they're struggling with, what they've been diagnosed with, right? We don't have bipolar, so we don't know what's up with it. At least at this point, we haven't been diagnosed with bipolar. But like Chris said, we know people that have bipolar disorder, and we know how serious it is. So, and where he is at a very critical state in how he influenced people and what he's saying. So,
I agree. Yeah, you're right on the money. And you got to realize this is media. This is show business, all that stuff. So even if somebody knows these things, they're going to take advantage of. And then because he is who he is, he's going to say, think about this too. There was a time that when he kind of was navigating away from the Mrs. Kardashian, he was temporarily with another person, and during that time he was pretty quiet. Just so happened this particular individual and his family are in the medical field and dealing with things, and he was quiet. And then he navigated away from that person right when Kardashian navigated away from Skeet, as they call him, and then now it's back on again. So it could be something deeper than we know that could be calculated. Again, these are all just theories. But the one thing I know, or we all know, or most people know, he is not a professional actor.
Right.
So the things that he's doing is him, but that doesn't mean that he doesn't have still a game plan. Even because the stuff that he's doing and how he's doing it, everybody ain't gonna do it. Wouldn't do that. Wouldn't say it like that. Even if there was some, hey, I got this plan, I got this idea, let's just implement it. He is still being himself, even if he has an idea
Yeah.
of what he want to do. And he acknowledged that he has some struggles.
Yeah.
So it's not like people are making up stuff, or me and Angela just pulling stuff. We're not turned to, let's make it clear, we're not giving diagnosis, but I'm just giving you my observation of what I see. So not so much get too deep in, like we if you notice, we hadn't got too deep in what he's saying. It's the character of how he's flowed, not only then, but even just go back. You can go back from now to when he came on the scene. You just knew he was different.
Yes.
You knew he was different in how he communicated and the challenges that he had. And then listening to some of the verbiage that he said and the words that he said. And as a, popular in other shows, how did that work out for you? Actually, if you look at it from the standpoint of what we have here in this world, it worked out well for him.
Yeah.
But then just like a home run hitter, that man, he hit a lot of home runs, but they got a lot of strikeouts.
Yeah. And think about this too. If what he is saying and the things he's saying is true, and we don't know, nobody knows.
Nobody knows.
If they are true and he's trying to get that point across, his delivery it sucks. The way that he's going about trying to get people, well, certain people he is. People are listening.
It's not on,
but the way that,
leaving a bad taste in people's mouth.
Yeah, but the way that he's going about it, I probably shouldn't use the word sucks. It's not effective.
It's causing some harm too.
So I would say this: if he has some truth and he really's trying to do what he's doing, he's on a mission to do it. He's gonna do it. I don't think that Kanye that you were talking about, that was with someone that quiet Kanye for 3 months, at least 3 months.
He was quiet. And it didn't seem like he was happy.
Probably wouldn't have delivered the way he's delivering now, which means that if he delivered like that, and we know every bipolar situation is different, and it doesn't mean that they're hallucinating, that they're not telling the truth, or they're telling lies or whatever, or they fabricating stuff in their head. Because some people can say, yeah, what he's saying is true, because guess what? That did happen. Yes, he's right. He's going into details about stuff. He may be, but he has to think about how the audience, whatever audience that's listening to him, is taking this. Whether it's, truth, fact, fiction, but the most important thing, guys, is that mental health. We all know that he is going through something and he needs help.
And also, too, influences around you. So we talked about, okay, he was with this man, quiet. Now we back up to here again. So you have to wonder, who is the influences? Who are the people that's kind of, because you got to have a certain, you see this in a lot of entertainers. Let's say for us, like a sports figure like LeBron James. LeBron James, and people have noted it, he had certain friends around him that had his best interests in mind. So they help him. They watch out for him. They don't create a situation that put him in a bad light. And he has a lot of hands that helps him along with his own self. He's the final decision maker. But then you may have somebody say, man, how did he wind up, on drugs or this? Then look at the influences. So think about it. It's not like he's not capable of piping down, because Angela's noted, and I didn't know that, she told me 2 years this man hadn't took his medicine. But within the time he didn't have any medicine, somehow he wasn't no problem. He was quiet. Things were great. Things were good. But then the influence changed, the situation around him changed. Now he's trying to get himself out of it. He's back trying to figure out how he got in a mess. He made a statement. This is something that I think his name is 50 Cent. A lot of people know him. He's an artist, actor, all that stuff. He made a statement that is on par with what I was thinking is, when we say something or have to communicate something, even if we had good or bad intentions, Address it with the specific person instead of saying things that can disparage a whole culture of people or a whole segment. Because no matter how you intended or how I intended something to say, if I'm Johnny Joe and what you said to so-and-so, even though you was talking about so-and-so, it still was offensive to me. If somebody said, I got a problem with this guy happens, let's say it have a little bit of curly hair and a skin tone, and he said that's the kind of, and you the guy, but he was really focused on that guy, I can still be offended, even though he wasn't talking about me, because you described something that encompassed a generalization. And that was the point of the artist saying, man, don't do that. Just deal with the people. If it's a company, deal with the company. If it's an individual within the company, deal with that individual. So that's how we have to deal with anything, even with our mental health. If there's an issue we're struggling with, we want to work on acknowledging that we have an issue, which I think he does to a certain degree. I've heard him say it in interviews. Yeah. But then address the issue, or you knowing who you are as a person. Don't say or do things to put yourself in a deeper situation when you know that you have to work on the things you're suffering from too. And I think that's I'm kind of talking about two different things at the same time. I'm talking about the fact that if this person says a little too much, then he's also a case where he doesn't think things through. He just says whatever comes out of his mouth. Yeah. And it's a thing, which I think hasn't even been addressed yet.
That's true.
Yeah.
I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
And also to the fact too that when you say that comes straight out the mouth, whether it's true or like whatever it is, if I know that I'm going to say something and I know that it's true, but how I say it, who I say it to, that could leave a huge impact on the situation. Instead of one or two or three or whatever people, just a handful of people being offended by what I said, now you got a whole world that's heard what you said. And regardless of if your intentions were to a specific people and not the whole, what do you call it? Is it race of folks?
Race, culture.
Whatever it is, culture or people, then it makes it look a certain way.
Yeah, it's a general
And you're
thing.
right. He does have, you can tell about how he, what he says, like control, or, saying everything that you think.
Just be going.
And I do know people that are fast at the mouth and slow at thinking, and that, like stopping and thinking, like, let me think before I speak first. You know what I'm saying? Let me think about what I'm gonna say, because if I say this, I don't want to hear all these people saying that I said this and that's not what I mean. You interpreting it the wrong way. I think a lot of interpretation mix up has happened as well.
Yeah,
because you see a lot of backtracking too.
That's right, for sure. And I was gonna say, that can be it's a quality that we all kind of have to a certain degree, and it can actually be a good or bad thing. Think about this. Have you ever had a situation where you was like, man, I wish I had said that, could have made a difference in my career or a difference or something. I just was too nervous to say, I should have said something to this person, and a lot of us didn't take advantage of opportunity. So in that way, because he has a certain boldness about himself, it has served him well. He's come up with these ideas and thoughts that most people like us wouldn't even get that far with it. So not only he's an idea guy, but he'll find a way to implement it. So that served him well. But because he doesn't have a filter on anything, and he hasn't even wrapped his head, he understands he understands his, because he talks about it, he's grandiose about himself. So he understands, oh man, I'm this, that, and the third. He probably was like that when he was just in high school. He probably was like that already. But it's hard. I don't think he wrapped his head. The impact, this is what I think the impact of now what he say is just not going to affect a couple people. The impact of what he say, that's what a lot of people that reach that, me and her was talking about that, reach a certain level, they realize, okay, I'm a brand now. I'm a certain, so I know I'm going to start carving, and I know I have to be careful what I say. Especially in this generation where we have social media out the yin yang. This stuff didn't exist back when me and Angela were a lot younger. Back when me and her was young, we was glad just to be able to get that long distance phone. Hey, you up? You up?
You were
good?
chirping with that neck
What's going
tail.
on? Yeah. You hang up. How you hang up? So
Yeah.
times have changed.
Yes, it has.
In
Yes,
a very,
it has.
very short amount
Yeah.
of time. And so he has to wrap his head around that. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're dealing with the new generation of folks too. Different way of thinking as well.
Yeah. So,
And yeah, so, and honestly, guys, he is, there's nobody that reached his level like that. He reached a new level. So he has, and a lot of folks, people thinking is different, but he has a creative brain. And I get it. I get that, he wants to control his brand. And when you have people over you that's telling you and just like, hey, this or that, he's like, come on now, I know how to do this. I want to control my own stuff, my own brand. I could do this better. Look, I didn't get to this level just out of nowhere. I have a product, I have a brand. People like it. People are buying it. It is expensive. People buying it. And he's turned different companies into a profit. Some of these companies probably wouldn't exist today.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it been from his brand.
Yep.
So he is very smart.
That's the upside.
Yeah, it's a lot of a lot of upside to that.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, because we are human beings, we care about each other.
Yep.
You want to make sure that folks are taking care of themselves too. And that also in that, when you're like that, taking care of yourself mentally, but also physically too, and staying safe.
Yep. I mean, the bottom line is, we being honest, none of us are infallible. Again, we will say, hey, listen, that's the thing. He's not, what I was saying that he does, it'll happen to us if we're like when we're emotional, we have a tendency to not start adding our filter. Our filter, depends on the guy or the girl. The emotions can make you, that process gets skipped because now you just, But Kanye West is like that, brother. He's happy. He just have a way of expressing it right then as his brain is just going. I was watching a thing where he was trying to explain, hey man, because the situation's like this, and then Peter paid Paul and pen pal, and that sounds kind of great. He started just getting off, because that's what's running at the moment, and then he's trying to jump back into it. Yeah. And because he stays on that hyper level, and everything he thinks come out of his mouth, he'll let you know immediately. Like if you ask me a question, you may ask, Angela's an interviewer, she asked me a question, I may think in my head, that's a crazy question, but what will come out of me is say, that's an interesting question. I think, and then I answer the question. But because he does not have that he'll say, man, be careful with that question, yada, 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 and keep going. I saw him do it in an interview. The guy was a very good interview, very nice, very respectful, don't want no trouble with Kanye. He asked the question, Kanye, and he was very quick to say, oh man, yeah, you shouldn't. Even though I was listening, I was like, what was the big deal about? So that's my point. This guy can come up with some great ideas and all that, but because of that something going on there, with the filter part, everything comes out, and people take advantage of it. And you have to again wonder who he got around him. If he gets the right people around him that really care about him, and there's a lot of been like that. Like there are people that do care about him. I'm sure he has people. I'm sure he worked with Jay-Z and all this. I'm sure they care about him. And maybe it may be difficult because they don't want when something get that hot, that's hot. So maybe it has to be careful, or maybe he just say, hey man, thank you, but no thank you. You don't know. Yeah. So, but if somebody can get in there and say, man, I'm gonna help this guy. Probably the last person that can do that and he couldn't do nothing about was his mom. Right. I know just because of the things he's accomplished, his mom, sound like an amazing woman. Yeah. So she probably was able to say, hey son, whatever. But it's probably been difficult, like since that with other people, because you don't know everything about this man. He's very strong-willed. Yeah, he's gonna need somebody that's patient too with him, because he said a lot of stuff about a lot of people, and a lot of stuff wasn't true. But at the same time, if you care about someone, you care about them, you got to be patient
and you gotta just let that stuff just roll off and just be concerned about their health and making sure they're getting the right health. You know, because I would say this: it wouldn't make sense to be upset with someone knowing they got issues, knowing that there's issues there, but being strong enough and being caring enough to, you know, if you're close enough around or have some type of influence, to just continue to influence, but not going and make it worse and going and talking about them and going and, you know, saying some crazy stuff. This person needs help, get them help. You know, if it was someone that I knew was, you know, that, you know, needed help, I would try to talk to them and try to get them to get the help, but I wouldn't make it worse for them. You know, they're already going through enough already.
Yeah, I agree.
And
I agree.
You know, but
we just gotta hope for the best for them. Just hope for the best for them. You know, hopefully everything be okay. If some more interesting stuff come on, we'll talk about it.
Yeah.
But you guys, you know, this is just another reminder for us. Take care of your health. And when we say health, you know what we're talking about here at The Spice of Life. We're talking about your physical and your mental. Surround yourself with the right people, the right environment, people that you know love you and care about you, that don't have these ulterior motives. And it takes a process. And then here's another thing. Always do a self-examination.
Yes.
Make sure you say, hey, am I doing right here? I'm thinking right how I'm feeling. Because we talking about the things that it takes. And always another part, add a little spice to your life, right?
Yes. It's part of spice. Oh, look, taking care of yourself. Oh, self-care.
Self-care. Self-care. Get back on that walk, power walk, and do all those things again.
Yeah.
You know, so we'll we'll bring it back up again. But guys, again, this is Chris.
And I'm Angela.
And thank you so much for joining us on the Spice
Life.